Mm.
Hi everyone, Joe here. I am excited and honoured to have two incredible people that I have been using for sessions, the lovely Jane and the lovely Karen. And we decided that this would be important for us to share our experiences and our journey as we have participated in these sessions, just so you can get our perspective and hear what happens behind the scenes. So, a round of applause for for these two incredible people. They are volunteers in their own right, and this is an
Mm.
incredible journey for them. Their mission is of service, and it brings my heart so much joy to have them in my life and to be able to provide their authenticity, passion, drive, and approaches to humanity at this time. So, who would like to share and speak for themselves?
Mm. Mm.
Time. Go,
You
Karen.
want to go first?
Sure, I'll go ahead and talk. I have done a lot of sessions with Joe. Some she's channeled for me, and then there's some that I do, go under. And I wanted to speak about that a little bit because some of you may not have experienced sessions. It's like layers that you might get relaxed and you're not totally unconscious. You know what's going on around you and you can hear noises, but your subconscious does take over and talks through you. When I first experienced this, it's like, wow, how did I make up all that? Where did that come from? Because I was in disbelief that what I was saying um, came from another source other than my conscious. So that was hard to grasp for me. But after doing, a couple and then several, it's easier for me to automatically go to that space. And the sessions are never rehearsed. Sometimes the questions aren't even in front of us before we start. We'll have a conversation before the recording goes. And with those words, Joe, she'll come up with things that need to be addressed. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And that's where a lot of the questions come from. We'll talk about current events or life events or ideas or even thoughts and feelings that we've had. Those are what make up our sessions a lot of times. And she's very good at improvising and having follow-up questions. She guides my collective, my team, to the surface to gather this information. So with her collective and her mind and my collective and my vessel, that's what creates the sessions that you hear. And I hope you guys enjoy them. Do you have anything to add, Jane?
Um, well, I would like to hear more about your most recent session where you were tapping into Gaia. Tell us what that felt like and how it impacted you afterwards.
When that started, at first I was seeing different wonderful scenery around the world. She was like showing off herself. And then it went into, this is how I feel now. And she wanted to explain how she doesn't limit species that are here. That was a part of her contract. And I was feeling that she was like a mother to all, and she wanted to treat all her children the same. All the love that she had for one, she had for the other. So I was feeling all her love. And then I started feeling tiredness, and it was started to get heavy. And after the session, actually a couple of days, I was having to ground more, drink more water. And that's hard for me because I don't like drinking water. It's like taking medicine to me. I'd rather drink something else. But through all that, the grounding, seriously, the grounding that helps me the most is when a light breeze outside. The wind like carries away the energy that my body doesn't need, that doesn't serve me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So being outside in the wind helps me the most. It's pretty amazing how that works out. I mean, water does help, like taking a bath or even kicking my shoes off and watering my plants. So I'm getting wet and I'm being grounded by standing barefooted. It's all amazing to do that. You feel so refreshed afterwards. But through those couple of days, it wasn't lasting very long because I got a larger dose than I was used to through a session of the energy that didn't belong to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that does happen through sessions, that you will feel collectives or other beings that are called forward to speak. You'll feel their essence and their energy,
Yeah.
and it will stay with you. And you have to be very careful afterwards to make sure that you transmute it, send it on its way,
Right.
always with love.
Well, I know I'm very grateful not to connect into Gaia, because I'm a much more emotional being, I feel, than you and I are designed quite differently. And I'm just in awe of um, your ability to tap in and articulate with such clarity and focus with these different collectives, and bring forth the information that you do. And it's assisted us all so much. And I know I'm always so excited when you do a session with Joe. Um, I know I feel like, I'm just such a big crier. I take it on, the energy, that way. I don't process it so much mentally. I'm not um, thinking in terms of concepts or streams of information. For me, it's always a feeling tone. It's about it's about how it feels in me, and mostly in my heart space. And so there's been, in my experience with sessions with Joe, um, we cry very easily together, and a lot. But and maybe I've just not mastered the your practice, and that's an excellent practice that you shared with us about how to ground and release it, and particularly using the wind. I really like that, because I tend to hold on, I think, a lot more. And it's like I feel like I merge with whatever it is I'm tapping into. And it's like I can't separate myself from the experience I'm having. It's like I feel like I'm having that experience. And so to have channeled Gaia that way, that well, I'm glad I I don't think that would happen, because just of my construct. But some of the sessions I have had with Joe have been very emotional, where we've both broken down and cried. And but I've had several surprising experiences with these sessions, particularly early on, where Joe does the channeling, and I'm asking questions of these various beings that we've decided we wanted to talk to, for whatever reason. I think there was Abraham Lincoln and Alice Bailey. It was Alice Bailey that, and I had suddenly her conscious mind at an early age. I think she was like 18, And that was such a curveball because I had all these questions ready. And it's like, oh, I can't ask any of these, you know. It was like suddenly it's like, what do you do? I don't know how to handle this. And so I've had several of those experiences. And I always kind of feel like I'm just kind of going at the seat of my pants in a way. It just, each session is so different, and you just go with it. And then we have time constraints. Joe has children to pick up, and other appointments, and so suddenly we've chatted too long in the beginning, and we've not allowed enough time for the actual session, which actually happened the way I remember it with Dolores Cannon. And I thought, oh my God, Dolores, you got to hurry up. You got to finish because Joe has to go pick up her girl. And I'll never forget that. It was like, that was such an uncomfortable situation for me. And so every session is so different. And I'm just so grateful for the experience, because it's it totally expanded my world and worldview. Yes.
Before I'll know hours and maybe a day or two before I'm going to have a session, but it's always like blind questions where there's really never any topic, decided on. But I always ask my team for clarity and strength before I go into a session. And I think that helps me a lot. And I started doing that because I felt like such a greenhorn. It's like I've listened to all these other people, and I feel like it's like I'm lacking. I suck at this. So I started asking my team for, the support.
Yeah.
And then I started getting visuals more, and they're harder to interpret and translate into words. So sometimes I feel like I have a long pause before I answer. It's because they showed me something, and now my brain has to translate it into the 3D world to convey it into words.
Right.
But a lot of times I'm talking and they're not my words. Joe asks a question and that's what comes out.
Yes.
So it is an incredible experience. If nobody has done a session, I would highly recommend it, because it expands you. It helps you grow. You understand inner work a lot better. I know that a lot of people hear that, and I always have the feeling they might not understand what that means. But there's so much that they can find out about themselves that's going to help them with their inner work. Because if they're, a first timer of doing the session, they can have these questions about themselves and have them answered. And that's going to open up the door to everything they need to learn. It's not going to be all given to them at once. It does come in pieces. Your team's not going to flood you with all these, traumas that you've had from your childhood or early adult or even yesterday. They're going to give it to you in bits and pieces. And I found for myself, it's when I just went through something and this is going to help me learn that lesson, and it's going to stay with me. That's when something from my past will come up that I have to deal with. Then I can make that connection and go, okay, that makes sense. I'm glad they gave me that piece too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're very good at giving us the most appropriate information that the client needs to know that day. They know us better than we know ourselves. And so they are very good at knowing, as soon as you get the opportunity to do the sessions, exactly what needs to be the keys to be able to help us unlock ourselves and to be able to release that inner work, for us to understand ourselves so much more, maybe from past lifetimes, maybe not, depending if you're a volunteer or not. I just wanted to say, Karen, you have had some physical healing. Do you want to share any results from physical healing? that you noticed during sessions?
Yes. We're always asked to do a body scan, the subconscious and the higher self. And I've had like a shoulder issue from a surgery that I had. And there's scar tissue that surrounds the incision. That has gone away. We've asked that to be healed, and they found that through a scan, which I knew the pain was there, but I didn't really know what was causing it. And they'll find, the issue, and they'll say, well, it's this, and we'll work on it through the session. So they'll help with that. I've had them help with my blood sugar levels before.
Oh,
Yes, that's been amazing. And they always give the reminders, of course, about things that you need to do to help. And the drinking of the water is amazing. It really is. Like I said, I'm not a very big fan of it, but I do it. I have to.
yeah.
There's one thing I've never thought to get clarification through a session is if the crystalline body needs as much water. I don't know if it's going to be dependent on that element like our cells are. They have to stay hydrated to function properly. But those are a couple of things that I know that have healed through sessions and through, body scans. Even at night, before I go to sleep, I'll ask for a body scan. And then the things that pop into my head, I know need to be worked on. Like I might have a sore hip or something or whatever that's come up. And in the morning, I feel better. It's not sore anymore. So even before I go to sleep, I ask for that, especially if I'm feeling, aches and pains, but that comes with age. So they say, but that might be a mindset too. That might be a trap. We're told to think, oh, you're getting old, so this is going to happen to you. I don't know.
Oh, very much, very much. That is something I have used my teams for a number of years to help me physically. And I'm very blessed to be the age I am, which I'm in my later 60s, to be, to have no issues really. Any issue I have is because I have not gotten up and moved. You know, I need to
Well, you may
stretch.
have been on this planet
walk.
that long, but your energy says 15 to me.
Oh, well, well, thank you. But it is so powerful because I have, let's see, I found this protocol in the early, I think it was 2001 or two, and it was Michelle Wright, I believe her name is, and she has this line of flower essences called Paralandra. Anyway, she has a farm in Virginia, USA, where she makes these flower essences. She works with nature. Anyway, I was guided to her protocol, and I learned how to muscle test to see what flower essences I needed, and I worked with that daily for a number of years. And part of the protocol, though, was you lie down and you call in your teams among other beings to assist you in a session, with whatever you're wanting to focus on. So I actually had an experience 2 or 3 years ago where I slipped in the bathtub and I landed on the side of the tub and I hurt my rib. And it's like, I didn't break it, but I bruised it or cracked or something. It was very painful. And and it was hard to sleep. It was kind of hard to breathe, to get in a comfortable position. And I did this a session with that protocol, and it was gone. So it's just intentionally working with your guides and your teams, and they will help you. You don't have to have a QHHT session to do that. You can do that at home, and you can call your guides in, and there are various ways to do this. And like in this instance, I did have this woman's protocol, which I used, and I found it very effective. And QHHT, in my experience, has been incredible, and has certainly given me all kinds of healing. Mine has been, I would say, more emotional than anything, for the nature of who I am.
Talking about the crystalline bodies, that feels that the water is activating and it is higher frequency. So this is why they're wanting us to drink lots of water to be able to remove and detox from the emotional densities that we are still holding on to, whatever they may be. And I feel that regardless of what we need and believe as tools, if it's oils or crystals or I don't know, comfort pets, whatever we believe is going to help heal us, that will help heal us, because it is us that are always doing the healing. And so we're manifesting and creating this profound healing. We're allowing it, we're asking. So whatever we feel we need, remembering we're supposed to know and trust ourselves to be able to provide the best thing. We can trust our teams to be able to provide, and using our free will, we will be able to ask for profound healing, ask for releasing of anything that no longer serves us. No one truly needs sessions anymore, from my perspective, because all of the sessions have been giving us profound wisdom and insight how to release and master 3D by not getting attached to the emotions, trusting everything is on purpose for experiences and lessons that we have predetermined we wanted to grow and experience and expand from. And so I'm very excited to be able to know that we have used so many fantastic things in our past, thinking those were the magical whatnots to be able to get us to where we are today. And the reality is it's always about self-empowering, empowering each other and ourselves to trust that we are very capable and we are much bigger than we assume in our cute little 3D bodies. I think they just jumped in. What do you say?
I was
Oh,
yeah. So cute.
They tried to make it sound like it
but
was.
I like the information about. Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to talk more about intent. You were talking about like aromas or crystals or candles, whatever you prefer to use to strengthen you, to protect you. It's like whatever you put the intent on, that certainly does help you. And that's part of the manifestation that comes naturally to you. You may not even know you're doing that, but the intent is the manifestation that you're using. And you are very powerful beings. And I've learned that through sessions as well. I've learned who I was in the past, and it wasn't all consuming, but I let it lead me away from my 3D responsibilities too much, knowing pieces of what I did before I came to Earth. I learned that this is my first time here. I was not, a reincarnation. I learned that I came for a specific mission, and that was to gather information to take back to collectives to prove to them that what they were not seeing or not believing is actually happening here on Earth, and it should have never happened. We've learned that through sessions, not just mine, but everybody's. I can put my finger on a few other things. I know they took some of my memories away because I was dwelling on looking forward to going back to my old role. I was more of a masculine figure from what I've been shown. I spent a lot of time on some type of a starship in a central command role where we were always helping planets, supporting planets, kind of like the Pleiadians do for us. I feel like that's the type of role that I was shown I did before I came here. It took me a long time to own that because that's, to me, a big deal. It's like, wow, that's more than I expected to hear from a session. And I felt so much love and support that it was undeniable. Even though it felt very unreal, I learned to accept it and love myself. And that's how I can share it today.
I think it's important for people to understand who haven't done sessions that we are still learning and growing as we are hearing the information ourselves. And no one I use in sessions has big egos. There is always some level of self-doubt of, am I creating this information? But the proof for us when we're experiencing it is we will have some of our own frustrations and we will not be able to master ourselves out of understanding the purpose and the reasons for it. And we will ask in sessions and get instant clarity and bigger perspective. And it's like, okay, show offs, if only we could have mastered that and worked it out ourselves. Sometimes we do get stuck and we can't find the solutions. So we do ask in sessions and they give us instant clarity, which is always mind blowing, always from the bigger perspective. And sometimes when we want to hold on to those emotions of feeling frustrated or victimized or whatever, they always will just profoundly remind us to seek back into neutrality with our emotions. And it's super purposeful. Why we are experiencing certain things at the current time of those sessions, which always leads us to unfold bigger things. Jane, it's interesting. I mean, you've shared with us that you are such an emotional being, and I do agree with you. You are, and that is so beautiful that you're emotionally tapped in. But I also understand that as an empath, it can drain you quite a lot. And you were part of the Gaia sound healing experience where you had no emotion. You had the physical pain that you were connected with your body when you gave birth to your own beautiful daughter. Um, do you want to share your experience with that sound healing and also, my friend, with your experiences just the other day when we connected in with those two collectives? I'd love to hear your perspective of those.
Yes. With the sound healing, it felt like I was in the earth itself, and I experienced the same pain that I had while giving birth to my own daughter, as Joe just said. And it was just so interesting how that happened. So it was all on the left side, and yeah, and I wasn't feeling anything emotionally, but I was just feeling the pain that I was having in my body, and so and it took a bit to release that, but it was, of course, as everything is, purposeful, and that stayed with me for for several days. I believe that session was on a Monday, and I don't think I really released it until Thursday or Friday even. It's hard for me to recall.
Jane,
Uh,
did we do a session after that to be able to understand what was going on with your with your healing sound experience with Gaia, and be able to remove the discomfort from it?
we did, but it was several days past, and so maybe it was
Emotional.
yeah. Again, this is my memory challenges that I have. I don't have the wonderful recall that Karen has. um, but I do want to share. I had a session a week or so ago, and it was where we asked Source to come in and speak to us, and it was during this session they were saying some really amazing things to me, and I was having a very hard time taking it in. And the session was speaking to some pretty disturbing information to me. So all in all, I mean, I left that session feeling quite amazed by what had been said to me personally, and yet quite disturbed by the information we got regarding what it was about the laser event. And so in what I have found in my session work, we'll have these profound experiences, and then later it's like, how you shine a bright light, you any darkness is going to be found, and you have to see it and release it. So anyway, I had some inner darkness, if you will, which was self-doubt and old judgment, negative judgment of myself, low self-esteem, which has certainly been a big challenge in my life. So anyway, I had to look at that, and that was just in my face for days after that session. And I shared that with Joe right before our most recent session, where we were calling in the two collectives. And so, and I'll get back to that piece, but the first collective that we talked to, and I was so shocked, really, by the how they accepted and received the offering of love and healing from us. I never expected that to happen, although I certainly had it in my intention. Um, it, anyway, it was a very deeply emotional experience for me. And then, of course, the second collective, I could tell they were just very superficial in their presence and their responses, I felt. But later, was the realization, and Joe shared this with me, The reason why the first collective was moved by the offering of love and healing was because I was so imperfect. I'm not an enlightened being. I'm not. I'm human. I have done a lot of work, and I've expanded my perceptions and mindsets and awareness. But I do have this strong drive to love. I mean, it's all encompassing. That is the core of my being, and that pushes me onward. And of course, in all my QHHT sessions, that is typically seems to me, that's what my higher self talks about constantly, is about loving more, how we need to really get moving on that. And so anyway, I've been working on applying more self-love. And oh gosh, did I lose my point here? But it all just seemed to be so it just tied in together so perfectly for me and how I perceived and experienced these two sessions. My feelings so unworthy, and I say that, and I have to qualify it because there really is. I have overcome so much of that, but there is still these little holdouts, if you will, that I'm working with still to embrace the fact that I am worthy of love, and as a first waiver and volunteer. The messages were very, very harsh, as I know they must be for anyone who's come in, as a new being, a human on this planet. I was just not of this world. And every message I got from anyone was, there's something really wrong with you. You're just not right. And I took that to heart and believed it. Sadly, I know in my early memories, I was probably 10 or 11, and I remember walking down the street and having a conversation with God, saying, God, you made a big mistake here. You put me on the wrong planet. And so, and that that is, I've never forgotten that. And I've always felt, as I know many star seeds and light workers have felt, that they didn't belong here. And so there was a lot of self-judgment. And so anyway, I'm still working on that. And I made this story probably way too long, but it is so interesting how what I call the all these different threads come together and weave and create this beautiful healing. It's perfect, and as Dolores would say, it's all so purposeful. And I see that now, and I love it. I really love the lessons that I receive in these sessions, and I'm gonna stop. Give me feedback. Where did I go with that one?
You were owning your journey. And I love that about you. And you are very much worthy of love, just like everybody. And didn't we just learn that through hearing our sessions with Gaia, loving all of her collectives, and us being able to give love to all of the collectives, knowing that
Yeah.
no good or bad, it's experiences to grow and learn from, or trying to master this version of this planet's 3D so we can shift beyond that. So um, I think it was very purposeful, you being here of service through these sessions, profoundly more than we will ever know. I mean, both of you, this can easily be said for both of you, that who we are in our bigger beings, it's very, um, we are the guinea pigs potentially, if we want to be so blunt with that. If we can master this and still have compassion and love for all, knowing everything, knowing all the crimes against humanity, knowing all the control systems, knowing everything, and still finding compassion in our hearts to see the bigger purpose of it. I mean, it's extraordinary times. Um, the it reminded me, Jane, of when we had located uh, the trapped beings within those crystal. Um, I don't know what we
Mm.
called them now, but there were
Yeah.
those beings that had been encapsulated in some sort of, I'm not too sure if it was a portal or I can't remember now, but I remember afterwards we were both emotionally wrecked because I was connecting in, and we didn't know this until we had a conversation afterwards. We were hysterics, where I was hysterical, you were hysterical. I've never been able
Yeah.
to look back to that session, just in worry that I would feel that density again. But what I was tapping into was quite different from what you were tapping into, but yet it was perfectly balanced. You were tapping into the feelings of those beings being trapped and nearly maddened with this horrible imprisonment. And I was feeling all of the souls who had missed and longed for those. And it was just this profound grief and profound joy that they had suddenly now were able to relocate these really important beings who were, it was so confusing for them to be just gone, to be disappeared. And so it was incredible because when I'm doing the channeling, I step so much out of my own ego and body so much. So I'm just a passenger to this experience, and the emotions are so overwhelming. I have to really process that. I mean, there's been some extraordinary sessions where I it was so impactful that for days afterwards, it was still could bring me to tears and just trying to find myself back out of that density. So we've had such extraordinary experiences along this journey, which is have been so profound, but so important to do those healings that we send and that love that we send out to all of those collectives. It's not just words. This stuff and this healing and this energy does actually exist and is created through these sessions. And we hear the ramifications and the aftermath and the ripple out effect. It is so profound. I can't get my mind over it. And of course, I do lots of private sessions behind the scenes to be able to understand the totality of it more. But when we don't have these conscious mind conversations, I do think there is a missing dialogue to this information, to these sessions that people kind of need to know. And it must be so bizarre for people to hear these sessions of our entire self and Jane's higher self coming in. And when you don't know Jane, and you don't know Karen, you could assume this is, some random scripted whatever, which must confuse people. But I did want the sessions to speak for themselves, but I also realize it's a time that we need to start using our own voices as well and share our journeys, because some of these sessions have been really fucking hard to process emotionally and mentally, and the ramifications of everything as we have tried to, collect all these pieces of this bigger puzzle that they're wanting us to explore. And everything they've told us in sessions, I've tried to always honor, even things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do the book. I was a complete jerk at the
Uh,
when they asked about the book. I didn't want to do it because I couldn't understand the significance and importance of it at the time, because I was so focused on the new earth and the shift and 5D. And I realized at that point we'd already collected enough information. Now there needed to be this mastering of the old earth content, which I hadn't really wanted to tap into because of the density of it.
yeah.
So that was a lot. Even uh, even I felt very frustrated when I was doing that session with Karen and talking to Gaia, because I could feel the the struggle of humanity who are still impacted in this lifetime. And I know we have had conversations with Archangel Michael, who thinks it's hilarious when we cry because we're so freaking attached to the drama and the feelings of these things. It makes them laugh. And, because we take this too seriously. They say that all the time. You know that this is a game. You're playing this silly role. Get over yourselves, kind of thing. But they say it with love, and they mean it with love. But they remember who we are. Again, they know us more than we know ourselves right now, because we are having the veil for a purpose, a very important purpose. And so I have seen people talking about, some bad collectives taking away our memories and la 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 la. No, we have signed up for this lifetime to have a pause from who we truly are, to have this profound experience, and it's purposeful. So important for us to experience this lifetime in all its facets and to be able to manage and overcome it. I think the volunteers are incredible to have come here to be of service, and it is extraordinary what is happening to liberate this planet, to be able to raise its frequency and vibration, to be able to help with these experiences. The words always limit me. I feel so deeply that I get so frustrated that I don't have the vocabulary to express exactly the nuances of my emotions. So I either feel like I want to start crying because it's so overwhelming, or I just want to fucking start swearing and to just release that expression. And everyone that knows me, really me, Joe, knows that my first language is not English, it's swearing. And I'm probably somewhere who's got a biggest potty mouth ever. And I'm okay with it, because I need to express myself, because there's just so many things that just aren't right on this planet, and yet we're all encouraged to look the other way and follow the leader and follow the mainstream narrative. And that's kind of where humanity has kind of had this big boo-boo, shall we say, without getting into the dramas of all of that. So it has been an incredible journey. The interesting thing was, so I was not buying into Gaia's love for everyone, because I did not have love for everyone when we were doing that session with Karen, because I still was like, but we just need to shift. We're all in pain. We're all in pain here. We need this liberation. And how, I just, at that moment, in that time with that session, I didn't have compassion for all. I didn't see her perspective. I couldn't feel her perspective of loving all her children. And I had this, I felt the density of knowing and tapping into the collective's trauma and density. And so I was feeling frustrated with that session, and that was just obviously my process. I had to go through that journey to then come to realize what I needed to do to be able to manage getting myself back into neutral, which was love is always the key. Love is healing, and we must use our free will to be able to send love to even, like, this is going to sound crass, but I'm just going to say it. To find peace, we have to love our rapists. To find neutral, we must forgive and understand whoever has trespassed upon us. This is a contract that we have to be able to experience, to learn and grow from. And I'm not trying to justify the crimes against humanity. I'm trying to say and understand the purpose and the reasons why we had to experience those crimes against humanity, to see the duality, to be able to learn and grow from it. So this can never happen again. We have explored every way of every challenging emotion in this planet, in this 3D, so that we can really put it to bed. And so it doesn't need to be experienced by any other collectives, because it's done. It's done. It's done. So we have to master the 3D to feel that we can get closer to this next step of evolving into the fifth. So it's a lot to process, as I am still very human and still having my own frustrations. My biggest frustrations are people not being of service to their life mission and purpose. Because when you're off path and you're off purpose, the universe has a very strong, firm way to smack your bottom and to get you back online. And it has been a challenge for me to know how to deal with those people, to help them to love themselves enough to be back on track, because they're still holding on to such deep hurts that they're not able to fulfill their roles. And so I'm certainly not perfect. I'm certainly very much still 3D. And I'm wanting the best for humanity, and I'm wanting the best for myself. And I always find that if I have any problems, sending it love and understanding what is my frustrations always gives me the solutions to see things from the bigger perspective.
That's why I'm so grateful for discovering your channel and Dolores Cannon, which I wished I had discovered her much earlier than I did. But the concept of learning about life contracts was so liberating for me. Knowing that my greater I had scripted this experience that I was having. The whole, choosing of the family and who I was bumping into along my journey assisted me greatly, just greatly. I had already learned somehow to hold my identities very lightly. And I would certainly like to encourage people listening to consider that whatever you identify with, just hold that very lightly. um, um, and if you're very attached to it, then perhaps look at it closer and see why, and see if that really does support you. But I just wanted to say how much the work of Dolores Cannon has assisted me, and I have done all kinds of studies, and oh my gosh, I have been all over the map in my many years here. Um, and Dolores is the really the cherry on top. And I see, of course, looking back, how purposeful it was to to go in all the various directions I did. Um, and then end up with Dolores here, at what I consider to be uh, the end, as we prepare to shift. And it's just, I'm amazed. I'm just amazed. The beauty of it all. Um, from really stepping back, I can see the beauty of my life, um, and all the experiences. While I certainly, in the moment I was having many of those experiences, I was not at all considering them to be beautiful by any stretch of the imagination. But looking back, I can now see that they actually were um, quite quite beautiful. And because I see the value of the lessons, and I see the growth, and I am just so grateful for the growth. Um, and I'm so grateful for the companions along the way, and certainly um, for you, Karen and Joanne. Um, um, just their blessings to me are just profound. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Karen, what was one of your, Jane just said it was like contracts that kind of opened up her consciousness. I would say mine was discovering and truly realizing reincarnation's real. What about you? Was there anything that was a big awakening moment for you in spirituality?
Mine was gradual. I moved from a quite large city to a very small town in comparison, out to West Texas. And so I moved to a town that focuses on work. It's the oil and field industry. So everybody wants to make money and they work, 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 work. It's hard to make friends here. So I kept myself occupied. I mean, I work too, but I started learning the constellations. I started listening to videos that were leaning towards conspiracy, but they were opening my mind at the same time. So I was expanding there, investigating more. That's kind of how my journey to awakening started for me. Then along the way, I found YouTube channelers that were more spiritual instead of, political. And I liked the taste of that better. So that's the path I took. And eventually I found Conversations with Heaven. Another one of the members introduced me to that channel. She had found it first, and we were both hooked on it. It's like we were hungry for this information. It resonated with us. I expanded even more so with the sessions that I heard. And when Jane was talking about growth, it reminded me, when I listen to those early sessions now, I can see how much more I've even grown. And that was only last, I think, September, October that I started listening. So not even quite a year. But when I listened to those early sessions, there's so much more information that's unlocked for me now. I don't think your teams give you everything at once. Like you said earlier, you get to hear and understand what they feel is the best serving you for the moment. And so as you learn and grow and understand your bigger being in your teams, that's why I still do. I go back and listen to old sessions to pick up the information that wasn't unlocked for me for the first time when I listened to it. So that's important for anyone that has the access to the sessions and can remember what they listened to initially. And I agree about the labels. Don't put yourself in a box. If you say, this is me, you kind of end up being that. You're manifesting that for yourself as well. But yeah, don't label and don't judge yourself. And you'll find more self-love comes your way. You'll understand self-love more. It's not just confidence. There's a lot of gratitude that you need to show for yourself as well. Sometimes I get emotional like Jane and Joe, but I think I do it in a more private setting. I mean, I can cry over a commercial. Come on. It's, I know, a little silly, but I have. It just choked me up. I do want to express people need to open up their throat chakras, use your voice, know your truth, and speak your truth. Doesn't mean you have to be a dick when you do it, but you will have, it's a self-gratifying way of showing yourself love, sticking up for yourself. And you can do it with love. And I learned that along my journey. I've learned a lot of things along the journey I've been on for the last almost year with this group and these sessions. I still listen to other channelers that I did in the past, and they don't hold my attention anymore. I don't resonate with them at all. I do find this, that they're putting out information that I heard from Joe's session 6 months ago. So they're catching up, it seems. And it's like, okay, good. They're finally talking about that. And, you know, their followers and the people that are loyal to them are finally learning this information. And I'm grateful for that. Everybody does have their own path, their own time, their own journey. Jane talked a little bit about God put her on the wrong planet. I was thinking God put me in the wrong family. And then I played Miss Fix-It for a long time in my family until I was an early adult, and that kind of went away. It didn't suit me anymore. I started having my, children and developing my own small family unit. So I couldn't support both. I didn't stretch myself that far, and it probably looked like I was being insensitive, but I learned to be neutral around that time too. So that's why I feel now, even with growing more and more, I must seem that way. Like I'm very unemotional, desensitized, but I have a big heart and I feel deeply. It's just, I keep it in check. And so I don't get swayed into the dramas, because that's easy for me to do. I try to stay out of other people's dramas. They don't serve anyone. It takes your focus away from what you could be doing instead, which is, supporting others, transmuting the energies that come your way. Because even when you go to a store, the people that you interact with, you're helping them just by being you. The energies that you carry, you're affecting them. And sometimes you're even just taking their negative energy. And that's another reason grounding is, very important. Some people call it clearing, grounding, whatever. Public, you can pick up a lot of negative stuff. I've done that and forget to ground. And it's like, that's what's wrong with me. So that is a big part of my journey as well. I have to remind myself the little steps, because I can be distracted by, what awaits us or what it could be like. And we can't, I guess we can think that way, but right now it doesn't serve me to have the what ifs in my life. So I just try to stay focused on what's in front of me and help who I can.
And so by staying focused in our daily lives and the things that are coming up for us, if we are triggered, this is a beautiful, exciting opportunity for us to do some inner work and find out what is the root of that trigger, because that is part of our inner work. That's how we find the inner work, is being able to experience it's probably an old belief system or an old reaction to our past somewhere. It could be from our early little childhood that is still rippled out to be, with us still. I see people who are, as you were saying before, Karen, people who are still dicks. Um, professional term. Um, they are they are adults who are reacting as small children all the time, where they were triggered and had their own hurts. Dicks are not trying to be dicks. Dicks are people who are still reacting from hurt. We have to love dicks. Okay, this is too silly. But we have to be compassionate for everyone, and if someone's been angry at us or frustrated with us or reacting to us, remembering that this is merely their inner work being represented to show them, and also for us to see it, so we don't need to react to them. We have compassion and love for them because we understand what is going on here. We are playing the role of them to vent to us while we hold space for them and lovingly nurture them. This is why so many people who are suddenly awoken want to yell and scream at their families about the crimes against humanity and the injustices, and we're slaves and blah, 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 blah. You're very passionate about it, but when you don't have that bigger perspective of the purposes of all and why we are being awoken, it just looks like stress and fear and worry and a whole lot of range of emotions. And that's us reacting to our own fears and worries and insecurities and misunderstanding of what is of service to us to be able to provide these triggers for us to grow and heal from ourselves. I know so many people who are still stuck on the crimes against humanity with children, who are still nurturing and supporting their own inner hurt. And they need to heal and love the situation with as much grace as they can, knowing it's not their lives right now. They're not in that situation. It's in the past. It belongs in the past, but we can learn from it and grow from it, understanding that we can't read our life contract. So the worst things that have ever happened to us is part of what we probably wanted for ourselves to experience and learn from and grow from and master. When you master 3D, you can help others who are in 3D. This is a very powerful tool to be able to experience something so profound, heal from it, grow from it, and then support others along their journey, along their way. We have to share and be vulnerable of our experiences and give people advice of how we mastered this, how we overcome the biggest challenges of our lives. I'll share with everyone. Have I talked about the Anunnaki and how they were feeling in that session the other day with Jane?
You
Yeah.
we talked about it, I think, prior to the recorder.
Okay. Okay. So I was still not understanding why they were holding back. I still couldn't understand the audacity of the nerve of them, delaying this event and the situation, and I could feel the pain. But it's extraordinary. Like the pain that Gaia is feeling emotionally and physically is just beyond imagination. It's honest. It's the most densest, horrific thing. anyone who can channel and tap into energy, it is not the faint-hearted. It is so dense. Remember when in that session with Courtney, when she was experiencing observing her father in the third dimension, in the old earth, she thought she was a rock. She thought she was a big boulder because that's how dense it is. And every client who gets to experience the old earth, it is so heavy. The pressure on their chest, it's so dense. It's bottom of the sea is something, you know, you could imagine that density, that pressure, highly pressurized intensity. Anyway, I'm losing track of what I'm trying to say. Um, so with the confusion of why are we still waiting, and my gosh, Gaia still loves all, like, can't she, I had this kind of approach of like, can't she just understand from us, can't she understand humanity, can't she understand all of, you know, what we're going through and how much you know, trauma we're still dealing with here. And so I had that approach, which obviously wasn't the most biggest approach and perspective that one could have. And so when we were discussing if Jane would go under or if I would go under for that session with the two collectives, I wanted to sense it and feel it myself out of my curiosity. And when the draconian came in, they had a big collective. I felt like we had a very nice connection to the representations of the collectives that came in to have a conversation. And they were very neutral and very bigger perspective themselves, which was really easy to navigate through their messages. And when I was having that session and that experience, it felt like it was so understandable. I could really understand why Gaia loves them and why Gaia wants them to have the opportunities for them to have those experiences, knowing that we have to have the full range of that density of experiences for this duality of the experience of Earth. And I could fully see it so much more clearer, and only just, you know, prior to the start of the session, I was still scratching my head saying to Jane, what is going on? And what, like, you know, we were sort of, I was still bamboozled with the situation. And it is incredible when you're in the situation to feel the perspective of it so instantly coming through from their information and the feelings they were giving. And then so taken back that Jane was using her free will and her profound love, and all the other collectives were coming in to love them and to support them and give them the understandings and the reassurance of that, yes, they know why, their purpose, and why they want to have those life contracts. And it just was so many pieces of the puzzle that we needed. It was profound. They really were so taken back that I had to compose myself because they didn't want to cry because they did not want anyone to then feel sorry for them crying, because it was not sadness, it was joy, it was appreciation, it was so much emotions that were being experienced through that healing and gratitude and love and respect, which was, they were not prepared for that. But then when the Anunnaki came in, they had just heard the information and it was quite a surprise for them. It wasn't something that they were actually prepared to even listen to, let alone accept themselves. They feel like they're a very much more smaller collective, and they are almost wanting to sort of plead with the collective, saying, well, you know, we're kind of screwed now. Where can we go? You know, we're this little plant, we're like this little collection of beings. They are about to master all of their experiences, and they can't seem to see the bigger perspective that once you master it all, you can graduate. You don't get stuck. You don't get to repeat it. You get to move forward. You can't be stagnant. And sometimes when you are stagnant, there is it's problematic. So they wanted to say so much more, and the collectives cut off Jane's sound, and Jane was trying to figure out if we had still been connected or not, and that did bother the Anunnaki, because they came into this planet, mucked around, did things they weren't supposed to do, and sort of really are more problematic than other species. So I think all the collectors were just fed up with them and cut them short. And after the session, they felt their pissed offness. They felt their frustrations. They felt victimized themselves that they couldn't get what they were really hoping. It was like their hope was lost. It was an extraordinary to experience that. And still just such a muddle because, as I said, I had no comprehension of really what their agendas were or their purposes or why they were still hanging on. But I could feel intensively their emotions and what they were going through. And I just remembered when Jane was talking earlier about how when we do have these sessions, we tap into the conscious mind of the beings. So when we talk to Nostradamus, tapping into his conscious mind of him at that day and time where he is living, because their time is not linear. And so when we were talking to, was it Bailey? I can't remember.
Yes, Alice.
Yeah, Alice Bailey. Yes. And it is challenging because we'd called her in when she was younger and she hadn't done all her writing and channeling herself. And so it is hard to navigate these sessions because you're expecting to get this big advanced information from them from their biggest perspective. But yet when they're 18 years old, what the heck are you expecting from them? So it's really interesting. And I think it's very purposeful that I am able to be lucky enough to be able to connect in with those conscious minds. If we had a little bit more time, I guess we could have been like asking her, we'd like you to come in now at a certain age or whatever. But I don't actually listen back much to the sessions at all because I don't like me fumbling over my own words, and I would become frustrated with when I ask some silly questions and I fumble. So I knew it just wouldn't serve me to listen. So I don't actually have any time to listen back to sessions. And I just know that is very purposeful. And when you're talking, Jane, about you sort of wish that you had met and understood and learned about Dolores Cannon's work earlier, the day you learned her work was the best and most appropriate day for you. And so we always kick ourselves at the bum when we're like, oh, our lives would have been so much easier if we discovered X, Y, Z. And the reality is that is just more excuses for us to feel bad about ourselves, to not feel good. And it's always, we always have work critics beyond, beyond, beyond. And we really need to stop doing that because that's not loving ourselves. And we need to love ourselves so then we can feel when others are projecting their own inner hurt and work on us, we can still be solid within ourselves to share our love and support with them, whatever they're doing, even if it seems like they're endangering their bodies or doing something that just sounds so ludicrous for us. We can own our choices for our own lives. We must respect others and others' choices. We can share our opinions of what we would do, but trying to helicopter our children or our friends or our families with our beliefs can stifle them. And it's not really our duty. We're supposed to lead by example and not spoon feed babies steak.
Very true. Very true. One thing I am very well aware of was I always had a larger perspective of the world around me than anyone else, in my family as a child. I was always explaining things like to my brother, and then from there, as I grew, it was, I realized no one could see what I saw, um, and so finally I shut down. I became depressed at a very young age, and it was pretty much just a recluse, and so I really um, just have really struggled to find a way to express myself in this world, and to be received. um, uh, Socially, I guess. Anyway, so the whole love thing, I realize now, and I think I have refined it to a point where people are able to receive what I say. They're just little reminders of most people in where I live are practicing Christians, and so I try to um, put their experiences in that perspective. Like just send this person love, or whoever they're in conflict with. Just you know you just got to love it, and anyway, I know my life has gotten a lot easier once I realized I didn't have to go into all this detail about anything. And the message really is apply love, and just keep applying love.
Beautiful. Thank you. Karen, last words?
Last words. I am very proud of the growth that I see within our group. It's quite amazing, and it's very encouraging. It gives me, hope for myself, actually, to know that I've grown. I can see their, others' growth before I see my own sometimes. But I do know it's there, and I imagine that's the same for a lot of people. It's easier to observe the outside. That's how we've been conditioned our whole lives. So recognizing others' growths, I reflect and I find my own. We can all, benefit from that and be proud of ourselves and love ourselves. And like you said before, love is the key. We've been told that so many times, but to feel it and understand is on a whole new level.
Beautiful. Jane, do you have any final words?
Just that I am so very grateful, for my experiences now that I have the larger understanding. And and I'm feeling a growing excitement, um, and I think it's going to be just beyond our wildest dreams. It can only be that. It can only be so much greater than what we think possible.
So true. So true. Wrapping our minds around the fact that there is more to life than just this planet, and that we are multidimensional beings merely having an experience here in these 3D bodies forgetting the totality of who we truly are. It is quite a mind bend, but it is absolutely true. And we have learned that if all collectives here on this planet deserve love and healing, we can definitely afford that to ourselves, knowing that we judge ourselves so unfairly when we are simply having a life experience that we have signed up for. We wanted to experience all the ups and downs in this funny little roller coaster of a life and not let it destroy us. And it does feel like life is so much more manageable when we can find that neutrality, when we empower ourselves with self-love and release and understand everything that has happened to us before this moment right now was to be able to give us an experience we couldn't find anywhere else. So I think we have chatted enough to share this portion of our feelings and thoughts and experiences with these sessions. And I appreciate you both so much for your service to humanity. And I just honor you. And I always feel so overwhelmed acknowledging how grateful I am to have incredible friends and how I know from doing your own sessions how extraordinary your other lifetimes are and have been and will be. And this gives me so much great joy and hope and faith that our futures are going to be and are amazing.